Hi guys, HollowPsyche here today. Now I haven't been on YouTube in quite a while, but I figured I want to do something with my camcorder, and I have a lot of headphones laying around, so I figured, hey, why not start reviewing headphones? I'm not too good at this whole talking thing, so we'll see how this goes. But as opposed to focusing on all kinds of different headphones, like audiophile grade and whatnot, I figured I'd mainly focus on one specific market, and that's like the fashion-forward kind of lifestyle headphone brand market. So, you know, like Monster, Skullcandy, stuff like that. I know most of those name brands kind of give audiophiles and headphone geeks a shiver down their spine a lot of the time, but not all of them are that bad. And so in that spirit, I figured I'd try to help people looking for those sound signatures, because fashion-forward headphones generally have different sound signatures than, say, like Sennheisers or Bose or Audio-Technica, anything like that. Those generally have kind of a cleaner sound than a lot of fashion-forward headphones. Those have a bassier, more heavy-handed sound signature. So, in that spirit, I think I'm going to start today with Skullcandy. You know, one of the biggest, most influential fashion-forward brands out there. So I'm going to start with the Skullcandy Navigator today. Now these headphones are $100 from Skullcandy, $99.99. A little steep, but I feel like $100 is a little steep for any headphone. Honestly, I don't feel like you should be charged more than like 50 bucks for a decent pair of headphones, but especially in the market that I'm talking about reviewing, you can't really avoid triple-digit price tags. So $100, not bad in the sub $100 category for fashion-forward headphones, honestly. They're pretty small, they're very, very lightweight. I don't feel like they're going to fit anyone with a larger head very well. I mean, I've got a pretty average size head, maybe a little larger, and they work well, but I've got to have them maxed out on the size. I can't have them, you know, even like down here. I've got to have them all the way, otherwise they just don't work. I feel like they're a pretty good looking headphone. I mean, it's more of a matter of preference than anything, but for me personally, I like them. I like the blue translucent ear cups. I think the blue is the only Navigator model with translucent lenses, but I like it. These ear pillows, as Skullcandy calls them, are actually quite comfortable. They're very soft. I don't think they're real memory foam, but they're really soft, really plush, and that's a good thing because these have a decent clamping force. They're pretty tight, but they don't really get fatiguing. I can easily wear these for a few hours without feeling fatigue. My ears won't hurt. They don't get numb after any point of time with pain. They're really, really comfortable. They're very lightweight. They don't move around on your head. Due to their clamping force and their lightweight, they will stay on your head. You can move around as vigorously as you want to. These won't move. And they're very, very comfy. I don't have any trouble wearing these for a long time. They are very lightweight, like I mentioned, so they hang around your neck easily. They get pretty loud, so if you feel the need or the desire to wear them on your neck and wear them as little speakers, you can do that. This padding on the headband, I don't really know if I'd call it padding so much. I mean, there's like a metal rod or something that runs through here to take the brunt of the stretching, so, I mean, oh yeah, you can see it right there. I don't even know how I overlooked that. I've had these for like a year, but the rod runs through the headband, and right here, I don't even know if you can call it padding, because there's not any like padding like there is in here. There's no memory foam or anything like that. It's just this little leather material, and it's a very thin layer of it, but it doesn't... A lot of headsets will kind of hit pressure points in your head and give you a headache after a while. These don't do that. I don't know if it's that the headband doesn't totally rest on your head or if this padding is really that sufficient, but these aren't fatiguing at all. Like, I'm not kidding when I tell you these are some of the most comfortable headphones I've ever worn. And they don't get fatiguing at all. I don't know. I don't know about this padding up here. I don't know how to explain it because it's just a material. There's nothing in here. But it works. Onto the sound though. They look pretty good, they feel good. How do they sound? Pretty good by all accounts. They're not audiophile grade at all. Like I mentioned, they're not something that you're going to want to use in the studio. But they sound pretty good. When I first started pumping music through these, the first thing that surprised me was the bass. I've never worn an on-ear pair of headphones that didn't sound a little tinny. These don't have any tinniness to them at all. The music doesn't sound distant. It's very upfront. It's in your face. The bass is boomy. It's not really tight or detailed or controlled really, but it's very, very boomy. And I guess I can't say that it's not super controlled because it doesn't really make a muddy mess of the sound, which is something that I found to be a saving grace. I love that about these. The bass is very boomy. It's probably the most prominent feature of the sound signature of these headphones, but it doesn't get in the way of the other frequencies. It has some kick to it. Kick drums are really nice. If you listen to dance or electronic, you're gonna have a blast on these, especially if you listen to at moderate listening levels. The mid-range is probably what I would say would suffer the most on these. The highs are a little rolled off. I don't think it's that the bass actually drowns the high range out at all. It just, to me, sounds like the drivers are tuned so that the highs are a little rolled off, maybe to make it a little less fatiguing. But, the highs just, I don't know. They don't sound like they're behind the bass. It doesn't sound like they're in the background, necessarily. The mids sound like they're a little in the background. The mids kind of turn into a, they can turn into a jumble if you listen to, like, really complicated music. Like, if you listen to metal or anything like that, I'm not sure these are going to do great. But they'll work. But these are going to do great with, like, dance or electronic. If you listen to pop, if you listen to alternative rock, they do well with indie. They do well with really simple metalcore. They do pretty good with dubstep, some electro. They do good with drum and bass. I like them with reggae. But the sound signature doesn't really leave a lot of room for, I'd say, like, complex metal or some hard rock that, like, if you listen to post-hardcore, these might not do really well. The mid-range can kind of turn into a jumbled mess. It's not like a muddy mess like, say, Beats headphones would do, but it's kind of jumbled. You're not going to get a lot of detail or definition out of the mid-range. You get more detail and definition out of the highs, and these are good at picking up background sounds, and they're really good for bass, for kick drums, for dubstep drops, for the bass beat in a dance electronics song, for house. They're really nice. But the mid-range just kind of, it's there. It's present. It's not super defined, but it's not a mess. It's just kind of, it goes along with the rest of the mix. The highs are decent. They're not, like I said, they're not clouded out by the bass, but they feel a little rolled off. They're just a little soft. But they're present, and they're not so rolled off that they sound distant. The mids sound a little bit distant. Vocals are really nice. Vocals are actually quite prominent in your face on these headphones. They're, I don't know how to explain it. It's not really natural, like Skullcandy's, next step up from these, their sibling, the Aviator. Vocals on those sound very, very natural and kind of spacious. The vocals on these sound kind of aggressive, I guess would be the way to say it. They're very, very forward, they're in your face, and next to the bass, they might actually be the most prominent feature in the soundstage. You can't really ignore them. They're not soft at all. I don't really know how else to put it. These are relatively well-balanced headphones. I like them. When I first got them, I couldn't stop using them, and they're probably the only headphones that I use to wander around with, other than a set of House of Marley headphones I have, but I usually only use those because they're built like a tank, and I use them for longboarding, because if they fall, I don't feel like I have to worry about them breaking. I've dropped these on concrete once. I've dropped them numerous times. On concrete one time. I think it was this ear cup, the left one. It got a small little ding in the very, very, like, center. But other than that, there wasn't anything noticeable. They didn't scratch up or anything. So these are actually pretty durable. I was worried about them for a while. Same with the Aviators, because they're, well, they're sunglass lenses. They're polycarbonate. They don't look particularly durable, but they're pretty durable, actually. It surprised me. I dropped them on concrete. I was at the skate park, and I was practicing my ollies. I don't do much skating. I do a lot of longboarding, but I was at the skate park practicing my ollies, so when I bent down and jumped back up, the cord, which thank God it's detachable, jerked. It caught on my knee, and jerked my headphones off my head and just kind of slammed them into the ground, and I was like, oh my god! So I picked them up, and I put them back on, and they sounded fine. They still worked great. I checked out the ear cups, and the damage was minimal, and I was like, oh, these are actually pretty well built. They're solid. They fold up. They're very compact. They come with a nice little carrying case. It's not really much for protection. It's just a little silk carrying bag, but drawstring bag, but it works. The cable is a little bit weird. The cable is not a 3.5 to 3.5 millimeter jack. It's a 2.5 to 3.5. This goes into the left ear cup on the back, and you have to angle it just right, and it takes some force. First time I put this in, one speaker wasn't, and I plugged it in, the one speaker wasn't working, and I thought it was because the headphones were busted. Then I pushed this in more, and this actually goes in quite a bit. So make sure if you get these to make sure you push this jack in all the way, because I don't know, it caught me off guard, and it caught some other people off guard too. You've got to angle it right and put it in like that. I've had to replace this cable once in almost a year of ownership. The headset still works just fine. Overall, I call these a decent little set of headphones. They're durable, which is something that Skullcandy's definitely working on. The sound quality is getting better on their products. You've got, I don't know if you're into the whole skull thing. These are pretty understated as far as Skullcandy's products go. You've got the Skullcandy logo right here and on the inside of the ear pads. So, I don't know, you don't have a bunch of branding on these, which is kind of nice, especially for a Skullcandy product. One more thing. Back to the bass and the design really quickly. The design, I feel like, plays a key feature in the bass on these headphones. If you feel around on here, the foam padding is all around the edges, but right around where the skull is, the opening in here, the padding stops. It's like there's a round hole right here in the padding, and that kind of helps filter the sound right to your ear. So as opposed to a lot of on-ear models that just kind of let the sound go in every direction, whichever, all over the place, and they don't really filter it anywhere, these don't leak a lot of sound, and they do a pretty decent job of blocking out sound. They're not noise canceling, but they are pretty good at noise isolating. But I feel like the holes in the padding help direct the sound and the power of the sound right at your ear, so that these, I don't know, I feel like that's what creates the bass effect on these headphones, the boomy bass. It's not super defined, it's not super tight, it's not super controlled, it's not terribly controlled or tight, or I mean loose, like, you know, say Beats by Dre. I don't know. The first time I tried Beats by Dre on, I was so let down. I was like, I can't believe these are so popular, and like $350. But these do a pretty good job of making a boomy bass that's not super, it doesn't make a muddy mess of the music, and it's not super dynamic, but it's dynamic enough for you to be able to listen to like bass lines and kick drums and bass drops and still enjoy the music. It's got enough definition for it. And the mids, like I said, they kind of suffer, but they have enough definition to enjoy the music. You're gonna enjoy these the most if you listen to techno, trance, house, dubstep, pop, stuff like that. Rock will suffice. I listen to a lot of different music, so I have a different pair of headphones for almost every genre. These are pretty decent performers all across the board, but they're the best with electronic. One side note, these have kind of a strange quality control issue, I feel like. I read one other review that said about these headphones, and I hadn't picked up on it too much until they said this, and I don't feel like you're gonna notice it unless you have like really well practiced ears. But these, I don't feel like the right and the left channels are tuned, I don't feel like they're tuned equally. One channel, I feel like it's the right channel, sometimes is a little bit louder, it sounds louder than the left. It's not super distracting and it's not too off, but it's a little weird sometimes. Sometimes it catches me and I'm like, I wish that wasn't like that. But it's not the worst. Overall, these are pretty well balanced, they're comfortable, they're good looking, they're stylish, they're easily portable, and they make your music sound they make it sound alive. It's not dull. They're not dull sounding headphones by any means. And they feel well made. They've got a detachable cable, and that adds value. They beat out a lot of the competition in the fashion-forward lifestyle market in the sub-$100 category, like I keep comparing these to Beats, but I feel like the biggest competitor for these is probably going to be the Beats Solo or whatever it is, the $100, $150 Beats model, on-ear model, and I feel like these definitely beat those out. And they're $50 cheaper than those. I don't feel like you could do any worse than that. They're not bright sounding, they're kind of warm, but they're decent. I like them. So, that was my Skullcandy Navigator review. This is my first product review ever, so I'm sorry. Bear with me on my pauses and my jolts and my speech and whatnot. But overall, I don't feel like you're gonna regret spending your $100 on these. I got them for about $70 on Amazon. I feel like that was a good price. So if you can find them for cheaper, I would go for that. Oh, I didn't talk about the mic. There's not much to say here. It's a mic 3, Skullcandy's mic 3. It works best with iOS. It's made for iOS devices. I don't ever use Apple devices, but pause, play, track control works on these. You can answer and skip calls. You just can't control your volume. That's about it. It's relatively well made. It's not well made. It's cheap plastic, but it's got good feedback. I like it better than Skullcandy's older mic 3 model. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks. If you like this review, like it, subscribe. I'm planning on doing one of these reviews like every week and a half or so. So stick around. Have a good one, guys.